Hello beautiful people, I'm Madison and today we're going to be doing a bit of a mismatched video. So Riley and I have created a 2023 reading challenge. We have 3 mini challenges and then our main challenge. So we thought today we'd go through each of the mini challenges and our main challenge, as well as books that we have on our TBR. So we hope you enjoy this video. Sorry if it's a bit jumpy, but yeah, let's get into it.
So the first challenge I want to talk about is our alphabet challenge. The idea of this challenge is to read 1 book per letter of the alphabet based on the first letter of the title. However, we've chosen that the words the and a are going to be ignored in titles so that we don't have to avoid books that start with the word the. An example of this is She Drives Me Crazy would be seen as a letter S, but the stand-in would also be seen as a letter S because we're ignoring the word the. The same rule applies for A Brush with Love would be seen as the letter B because A is being ignored. The goal of this challenge isn't to force us to read specific books, it's kind of just a fun thing to see how many letters we get at the end of the year, but obviously we're going to try and complete it.
The first challenge I'm going to talk about is the Seasons Challenge. This is very self-explanatory. It just means we have to read 1 book set within each season. So for summer, for example, we could read Beach Read by Emily Henry or Melt My Heart by Bethany Rutter. For winter, I've already read this, but we could read Before the Coffee Gets Cold or Whiteout. For spring, you could read The Lock-In by Phoebe Luckhurst. Autumn, I've been searching my shelves. Autumn's gonna be a harder one to find for, but this is gonna be a tricky challenge because unless it's very obvious what the book is about, you probably won't know which season it's set in until you read the book. So it should be fun, a little challenging, but you know.
The next challenge I'm going to talk about is our colour challenge. The aim of this challenge is to read 1 physical book that is each colour of the rainbow. Maddie and I have decided that we're not going to count our Kindle books that we read, simply because when we're reading on our Kindle we don't see the colour of the cover, so it makes more sense to just use physical books for this challenge. I want to show you some examples of this. So obviously there are easier ones, like Pages for You is clearly yellow, Real Men Knit is clearly purple. However, there can be more difficult books that we're going to have to try and decide what colour we're going to put it under. For example, Book Lovers has lots of colours on its cover, and Before I Saw You has a split cover. Obviously we will then pick what colour we want these to go under, or we might even not put them in our colour challenge if we decide that it's just too difficult to pick it and we don't want to kind of lie our way through it. I know I personally am going to try and read books that have a solid colour or a majority of a colour on their cover, rather than books that have a lot of colours on their cover and then put them into whatever colour I need them to be, just because that way it's a little bit less like cheaty. But at the end of the day, this is just a fun reading challenge for us. So now I'm going to talk about the real challenge that we set ourselves. This is the main challenge that we want to follow, and these ones are the ones we're going to actually be actively trying to check off because these are our real challenges for 2023. We have 15 of these and we're going to try and check off all of them throughout the year. One rule we set for ourselves is that a book can only count for 1 challenge. So even if it ticks off 2 of the challenges, it's only allowed to actually tick off 1 of them. This makes it a bit harder to do, and it just means we're reading definitely 15 different books for the year. So the first challenge is to read a book with sprayed edges. If you don't know what sprayed edges are, it's when your book has different colours on the edge. This is just an example of the Asda Think Pink ones, and then this is a more traditional sprayed edge. The next challenge is to finish a series. This can be a series we started last year or a few years ago, or it could be a series we started in 2023. The rule is kind of just finish a series. I personally already completed this challenge in January because I read the last book in the Raven Cycle series, but Maddie hasn't really got any series on the go right now, so she's probably going to have to start a new series. The next challenge is to read a book that's under 300 pages. This is a pretty easy one, pretty self-explanatory. The next is a graphic novel, but we probably will count manga and stuff like that as well, just because Maddie reads some manga, but I don't really, so graphic novel it is for me. The next challenge is called Sister Swap, and this is basically just we want to read 1 book that the other sister recommended. So I'm going to read a book that Maddie recommended this year, and she's going to read a book that I recommended. The next challenge is Had It for Ages. This basically is to get us to read 1 book that we've just had on our bookshelves for so long and just haven't picked up yet. The next challenge is a non-fiction book. This is trying to get me and Maddie to read some more non-fiction because neither of us really read it, just to broaden our horizons, you know. The next challenge is to read an author that's new to you. This doesn't necessarily mean that the author has to be a new author that people are now discovering. It just has to be an author that you've never personally read one of their books before. It also doesn't have to be an author that you've just discovered this year. For example, it could be one that I have on my shelf, but I know I haven't read any of their books in previous years. This is kind of just to get me and Maddie to read something by somebody new rather than sticking to our favourite authors.
Continuing on from Riley, the 7 remaining challenges of our main challenge are a buddy read, and Riley and I have decided we're going to read All the Feels by Olivia Dade. The next few are very self-explanatory as they're all tropes. We have the friends to lovers trope, the meet cute trope, and the found family trope. The next challenge is the main character has to be a person of colour. Then we have a book told within multiple points of views, so it could be between 2 points of views or several. As long as it has more than 1 point of view, then it counts. And the last challenge is a book set in the past. This could be recent past, so 2022 or the 2010s or the 2000s. It could be the 1900s, the 1800s, and so on and so forth. As long as it's not immediately now, then it counts.
The next section I'm going to talk about is the TBR that I've personally set myself this year. This isn't a strict TBR of books that like I have to finish these 60 different books. It's just some books that I really want to read this year because I've had them for so long, or because I just really am excited to read them. The first book is The Raven King. I actually already read this in the beginning of January, but I really wanted to finish it this year simply because I have been reading this series for about 3 years, where I've just taken huge breaks between the books and I just wanted to get it done. The next book is All the Feels by Olivia Dade. If you don't know about this book, this is the second book in the spoiler alert, what are they called? Standalone novels. Maddie and I read Spoiler Alert last year or the year before, I can't even remember. So I just really wanted to finally get back to the series because Olivia Dade's writing is really good and I personally really enjoy it. Also, this is a buddy read, so the fact that I have to read this year means that Maddie has to read it as well. The next book is The Love Hypothesis. I simply wanted to finish this because I was reading it for so long. I started reading it in September of last year and then I kind of just stopped it for a while. I didn't DNF it because I was still enjoying it, but I took a massive break, so I wanted to finish this year. The next book is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I wanted to read this book this year because I have had it for so long. I've had the whole series for, I want to say, a year and a bit. I got them in December of 2021, I'm pretty sure, so I've had them for a while and I really just want to read them. I don't know what's been holding me back for so long, but I will get to this year. The next book is Felix Ever After. This is a very similar reason to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I've had this for so long and I've only ever heard good things, so I have no idea why I've been like postponing reading it for so long. I think it's just I've not been in the mood to read YA, but I will read this year. Mark my words, I will finally get to read this book. The next book is 7 Days in June. I've heard so many good things about this book. I think I bought it last summer and I didn't get a chance to read it, but I am going to read it this June. I think it'd be nice to actually read it in the summer, considering it's set in the summer. But I will get to this year. I'm so excited to read it. The next is that I want to read a Dorothy Koomsman book. I got a bunch of these from my boyfriend's mum and I've had them on my shelf for a couple of months, and I really like the idea of reading these like adult romances that are kind of aimed towards more mature women. I think it'd be kind of funny to see the difference between this and then like a young adult novel or a new adult novel. So I just want to read one of them. This is not necessarily the one I'm going to read, although this is the one that I feel most drawn to, so it might be the one I read. But yeah, I just want to read one book by her from my shelf because I have about 6 or 7 of them. My next challenge is a similar one. I want to read another Alice Oseman book. I've read Radio Silence and I absolutely adored it. This is the only other one I currently own, which is Solitaire, so this will probably be the one I read, considering it's the one that I feel most drawn to and the one I want to read the most. But I do just want to read any Alice Oseman book, but a physical book rather than one of her graphic novels. And the only reason I make that distinction is because my other goal for this year is to finish the whole Heartstopper series. I've currently only read the first one and I only own the first 2, so I'm also gonna have to buy the rest of the series or read them online. But yeah, I want to finish all of these this year. I don't know why it took me so long to ever pick these up. I think I was just so scared of being disappointed, but I absolutely love them. They are so great, and I actually watched the show on Netflix and it is the best teen show I think I've ever watched, and that's saying something because I absolutely adore teen shows, but it was so cute. So those are all the books that I want to read this year. Hopefully Maddie's list is just as long and it's not embarrassing that mine is 9 books long.
And the next thing I wanted to talk about is my 2023 TBR. So I don't have many books that I'm really wanting to finish this year, but I do have a few. So the first one is All the Feels by Olivia Dade, and because Riley and I are doing this as a buddy read, we're gonna have to read it because it's the only book we can agree on to read as our buddy read, so I'm definitely gonna get to this. The next book I've been dying to read since it came out was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I really enjoyed The Love Hypothesis, so I feel like I'm really gonna enjoy this too. Yeah, I just want to get to this really badly. The next one is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I've had Shiver and the rest of the series, you can see it right there on the bookshelf, for a while now. I did start Shiver, but I kind of kept putting it down and not wanting to pick it back up. I don't know if I'm past the age where I find it entertaining, but I want to give it another go and see if I can get into it. If not, I think I'll just DNF it, but I'm hoping that I can finish it. Yeah, I'm hoping I liked Shiver, but I don't have high hopes as of now. The next book is Verity by Colleen Hoover. So I've been reading this since last year, August. I don't know how long I've been reading this. It's a good book. I think just mentally for me it's very hard to stick with. Yeah, it's very hard to stick with for me mentally. If I read it, then I have to take a big break between picking it up again because it just takes a toll on me mentally. I'm supposed to read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover for my book club, but I've been finding it really hard to pick it up, so maybe I'll try that out this year as well. That's my TBR for this year. It's very small. I probably won't stick to it. I'm never really strict with my TBR, but these are the books I'm hoping to get to, so fingers crossed I actually read some of them. So that's it for our 2023 reading challenge. Sorry again that the video was so jumpy. Please let us know if you like this format. If not, also let us know. Comment down below any reading challenges you've set yourself this year for 2023, or any video ideas that you'd like to see Riley and I do in the new year. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, actually. Happy New Year. We know it's a bit late, but we hope you started your year off great, and we'll see you next time. Bye.